I would like to introduce you our guests. Émilie Coquet from the Cinémathèque Française. Massimo Bendagno from the I, Amsterdam. And Esther Lani from Budapest. She's the head of training and innovation of the Hungarian National Film Fund. She will be the host of this program. You will have about 30-40 minutes. And the focus is the education, audience design, and these topics. So please.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who's here this morning. I actually thought that we're going to have a nice coffee with our guests and no audience. But thank you for spending this lovely Saturday morning with us. And thank you guys for being here. And because we started with this short clip from the Cinémathèque Française, I'd suggest that Émilie, please introduce a little bit yourself, what you do there, and please tell us what you saw in the film.
So, bonjour. My name is Émilie. I'm working since 15 years now at Cinémathèque Française. I'm involved into film promotion and connected to the film collection of Cinémathèque, and part of every program who itinerates and who is going around, and also participate to some restoration and some DVD edition, and also for this special young adult ciné club called L'Autre Ciné Club. I'm involved in giving a few lessons and a few workshops. Actually, I thought it was important to start with some really good music and nice images to just walk a bit up and to thank you. And this program, this Autre Ciné Club, is quite unique in the archive and Cinémathèque world because it's focused on young adults. I think young adults, it's a very important moment because it's, the moment that people decide to go or not to go to cinema. And so this workshop, we ask them to register for 1 year, and they participate to practical and theoretical workshops. For us, I think the main thing is to know how to program film, where, how, you see a film in a theater, but there is a huge work behind, and to go through the looking glass also, and just to know how a film is made and how to program it. And when you're seeing two films together, something happens. So there is theoretical workshop about programming and a more practical workshop about making a shot and a short movie. And this is also, of course, connected. And also the young people, they have the possibilities to meet all the VIP. You've seen Jane Birkin, Darius Khondji, Gus Van Sant. We are making special, but it's public. You can go, you can buy a ticket and go to the presentation. They have a small interview, very professional with the people invited. And so for them, it's a special training, how to meet and how to present, how to talk about movies, but how to ask questions also about cinema. And so for 1 year long, I think those kids learn a lot, and just stay. And we have now adults who are 23, 24 years old, and they spend like 7 years with us. And so they are like small professionals to start a life, because they know the different job at Cinémathèque and what a programmer is doing, or what a curator is doing, or what a DOP is doing, and so that's it.
Okay, I will definitely ask you more questions about that, but first, Massimo, would you like to tell us what you do at the Eye? And if you have anything similar to what Émilie described, then please tell us.
First of all, good morning everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Special thanks to Julie Hadley, the director of the Hungarian National Film Archive, that already invited us here twice. And so my name is Massimo. I've been working in film and film-related institutions for 25 years now, and for the past 7 years of my life, I've been working at the Eye Film Museum in Amsterdam in the programming department. And my task is broader than just educational, but of course I'm faced every day with the incredible challenge of promoting cinema to audiences, in particular with young audiences. And some of you might know something about the Eye. We are sort of a recent institution born out of the merge of many different film institutions in the Netherlands. And this merge culminated with the building of a new location that is sort of spectacular in architecture. And many people ask me why. And I said, well, if you have to convince people that have been born with an iPod or an iPad in their hands to come and see a film in the dark that does not start at the moment they want it to start, you have to sell them something incredibly exciting. And that's what we've been trying to do at Eye by putting together not just a program of films, but also many activities that include labs, animation labs, and lessons on the history of cinema, and there is an exhibition, a permanent exhibition about the history of the machinery going from the Zoetrope to the iPhone. And this is all to sort of explain to a younger audience what was cinema before, and what can cinema be. I have the perception, through my experience, that when people say to me that cinema is dead, I always say that it's not absolutely not true, because cinema as an audiovisual telling of stories has never been more alive and well. I believe that what has been struggling, and has been struggling for the past 100 years, is the concept of doing what we are doing right now. A group of people that don't know each other, that has decided to sit in the same location at the same time to witness something together. The creation of a tribe, the creation of a group, the creation of a communal experience. That is what is challenged now by new technologies, and that is what young audiences, let's call them the millennials, have not experienced as much as we did growing up, because for us it was sort of normal to play in groups and experience things in groups, whether we play football but also go to the movies. And right now we sort of live in an age of technological isolation, so they are watching moving images but by themselves. So the idea is how to break that and bring back something more communal. And that is my life challenge.
That's our life challenge. Thank you, because this tribal experience you mentioned, I think it's very interesting. I'm sure you're also experiencing something very similar in France as we do here. Do you have anything to add as a challenge, or is there any other way how you can build an interesting, exciting building? You can create exciting programs. But, so is there any other way you can tackle this challenge? This is one of my questions. And the second is, how do you measure your success? How do you know whether what you do is successful?
There is another challenge, and I brought some programs, because at Cinematheque we consider that this learning to look, this learning to watch films, the most challenging is not to make specific programs for kids, but to just signal and to warn and to make accessible screenings for the regular programs to kids. And so we decided to do this small program, we are calling Le Petit Programme, which is basically the same calendar, but with a special color. You can see when you have a kid it's basically for the parents to put it on the fridge in the kitchen and to know what to do with kids. But this is not a specific program, it's just connected to the exhibitions and to the regular program. So I will give it to you. So that's another challenge, and so talking about accessibility and not just to isolate the tribes, the kids, the young adults, and the adults, and the senior, and no. to make accessible to all of them. Just like where we are doing some screenings. I hope one day we will have a special channel for people who cannot see it, but they will hear the film. And I hope we won't do a specific program. We want all the programs accessible. Well.
And so as for the measuring of success, if you
well, I think I measure my success in the moment when I see the audience of contemporary cinema try and see something different. I don't think there's much that we can do ourselves to create audiences. In a way, I want to say the first of the many paradoxes I will say today, and that is that if you want your audience to see classic cinema, you have to show them the films of now. Because I believe that, yeah, especially young people, they want to see something happening at the same time as they do. I always tell this story, which is not about film, but it's about music. In 2011, the Eiffel Museum was a partner of the Lowlands Festival. It is the biggest music festival in the Netherlands. It's something that can be compared to music festivals that you have here in Budapest. We were screening films there. And of course, as programmers of the eye, we were invited to the music festival. And I reluctantly said yes. I'm a big fan of classic rock. And I found myself at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in this tent with 10,000 18-year-old screaming kids. They were screaming to a band that I had no idea who they were and what they were doing. And of course, my first reaction was snobbish. And I said, well, I've seen U2 and Nirvana and The Clash and The Cure, and why am I here in front of these people? And then I realized something, and I realized that this band was exciting for them because it was happening at the same time as they were. They were for the first time in a festival, probably for the first time in their life alone, watching a rock concert, and it was exciting for them. And this experience stayed with me, and I realized that, for example, when somebody discovers that there is more to cinema than commercial art, commercial multiplex fare, and they see something like Drive by Nicolas Winding Refn, and a snobbish programmer would be, yeah, but we already had David Lynch, and we already had, is this guy better than? And then I said, no, it's great they discover a filmmaker that is happening now. You cannot tell them that René Clair is more exciting than Nicolas Winding Refn. First, they have to find something exciting happening now, and then you can say, so they have to listen to Noah and the Whale or Arcade Fire, and then you can say, why don't you listen to Led Zeppelin again? So I say, they have to do the job. There is an audience. And I find myself successful when all of a sudden they go from seeing Drive, and then they come to the Eye and they see Blow Up. And I've seen that happening, and it's quite exciting.
So if I understand you correctly, you're talking about some sort of a curiosity. You need to build the curiosity of the people, but you yourself have to be curious and current generation.
Well, I think that the only way to be an educator is to have had that experience yourself. Only if you had that moment inside of you when you made a discovery of something new and exciting, then you can transmit it to somebody else. Because as we know, education is an interesting word. It comes from Latin. It is literally, it means conducting something from somebody, and sort of take out the best from them, retrieve something. And it's something that has almost a moral value to it. And it is really something that you can only do if you experience that yourself.
Right. Yeah. So in order to do this, you must have an amazing team, I wonder. And would you like to tell me a little bit about how an idea comes about? Like you come up with an idea, then how long do you build it?
Do you have a staff? Do you have young people to ask? Do you test things on young people? How does, just give me a little idea of the creation of a program.
Yeah, first I totally agree with Massimo about the sharing idea. I think those young people, they have something to tell us also, and we have to learn from them too. But about the team, yeah, we are very lucky at Cinémathèque Française because we have a wonderful team, and we have a specific department which I'm not part of it, but we are all working together, and the connection between all the departments, and that's also very important that people from the programming department and the educational department, all this action, we are calling action éducative, which I like this word because it's action. And so they are looking toward the film collection, and they are always thinking, okay, we are part of Cinémathèque, we are not just a cinema or a workshop, and we are connected to Cinémathèque and to collection, how to use the collection. When you are talking about Ford and Western, okay, do you have special images? And my part to this L'Autre Ciné Club, I'm talking about the film collection, just to explain who was Langlois, our founder, and how to keep film and how to restore them, and how to connect film from different moments of cinema, and just to say the same thing as Massimo. But you cannot say, okay, this is, we don't have any value, and actually we are thinking, we are lucky also at Cinémathèque because we are not restoring film just because it's on the shelf and we have to do it. We are planning it. We are programming the restoration since maybe 30 years now. It's Langlois did also. When you get a movie, it was restored for a program, and that's a major difference, I mean, for the film preservation and the film promotion of a collection, because it's not a dead collection, it's a very lively collection. But about the team, we are lucky because we are more than 20 to think about those questions of education, and one of the founders of this education program was Alain Bergala, and Alain Bergala is a French essayist and teacher who was charged in the 80s by Jacques Lang and François Mitterrand to think about cinema as an art and to bring cinema into school. So we were very into this question at the very beginning, and we are lucky once again in France because cinema is part of the school education, just like painting or sculpture. We are not starting from zero, and so that's also another very important point.
We have done something even more radical because we have literally given up the idea of being able to talk to young audiences ourselves. So we have our own shadow programming team. Every year we hire 5 young film enthusiastic people between 18 and 25. Usually they are somewhere between 18 and 22. They are at university and they want to work in the arts. And we hire them for a year. They work 1 day a week at the Eye. They're called Eye Exposed. And they basically are a shadow programming team for what we do. And they talk to us. And when we do an exhibition or a retrospective, they come up with their own marketing ideas and they have their own point of view on something, and we give them the power. Usually there is a big opening ceremony, there's an opening vernissage of the exhibition, and they program it themselves, and they attract they attract their audience, which is the audience that we want to attract, so young film lovers. And Yuri, that is sitting over there, has been to the opening of the Bellatar exhibition at the Eye Film Museum, and he was shocked by the amount of young people that was there, that was interested in the work of the Hungarian master. And this exposed team sort of programs, for example, tonight in Amsterdam is the Museumnacht, is the night of the living museums, where all the museums, they open the whole night. And they create the program with visuals, with DJ sets, with artists, with short films, with animation, and we let them do, and they talk to their peers, and they basically translate culturally relevant program in I'm not want to say something simpler, but it's something more direct for themselves. Yeah.
Do you have any example of something that shocked you, like how they market the program?
There's many. I mean, it's interesting for them. We did recently the Expo, or the Martin Scorsese Expo, and they say we want to do something with boxing, and because of Raging Bull, and they involved a boxing school of Amsterdam, and they built a box. I don't know if it's called the ring, and then there was a big surprise because instead of two men walking to the ring, there were two women, and they made a gigantic statement about the fact that in Martin Scorsese films there are not enough women roles, and so they wanted to turn gender upside down and make a Raging Bull with women.
Wow. Did it work?
For them. I said, what about the Age of Innocence? Isn't Comtesse Olenska such a strong female character? They wouldn't listen to me. So,
next time.
but I'm happy that they are also very subversive, and it's right that we have our approach and they have their approach, and it's very healthy. I think it's because they question everything that we do, and of course we scratch our heads a little bit every now and then, like what are we doing? But it's fine. It makes for a more exciting playground for everyone.
Well, Emily mentioned the schools, and you mentioned young people as partners. Who else is your partner when you think about a new program, when you think about your operations, your entire existence? Is the ministry? Do you get funding? Is the local authorities? Is there private funding coming into your organization? So I don't know anything about that, if you want to share.
Okay. There are many programs. There is a European program for this operation called Cinéma 100 ans jeunesse we are doing all over the world, and especially in Europe. But we are an association, but we get money from the CNC with a special cinema fund. All the subvention is coming from there. But for this Autre Ciné Club, our major sponsor is Agnès B. Agnès B.
Yes.
And it was important, and she did the logo of it, and she's coming each year. She's kind of a godmother of the operation, which is great. And so, but basically also we are working with, each year you have this film selected for the baccalaureate. So we are working also with education of the government and getting money to give learning to teachers. Because there are no, in high school you don't have any cinema teacher, but most of the time it is the art teacher who's doing it, or the literature, or it could be also the mathematics teacher. But they have this special learning from Cinémathèque, so they can come also, and we got this special funding from the state also to do it.
The usual suspects. We are a foundation, and we get money from the state, and we get subsidies from the city and different art funds, and we are actually have been asked since the birth of the eye to also be sort of financially feasible ourselves. So we proudly can say that we make some solid, we make quite a bit of our budget ourselves with our events, and we have a restaurant, a bar, a shop, and yeah, and that helps us stay afloat in the waters of Amsterdam. And then of course there are specific partners that might come in for specific programs, but to each his own.
And I'm wondering if you can also reach areas outside of the capital city. I don't know about your organization. You're probably only in Amsterdam, right? Or do you have programs for?
Well, first of all, we made a study of our audience, and we realized that since we make the new location, the Netherlands is a very small country, and there is a train now that takes you from Rotterdam to the station that is in front of the eye in 38 minutes. And it's surprising that a reasonably sized amount of our audience comes from outside of Amsterdam, and but we also distribute films and distribute programs throughout the country, and of course with specific programs aimed at schools. Schools come from all over the country to Amsterdam, to our location. Yeah. So we try, and I mean, Netherlands is small, and it can be done. Maybe France is a bit more complicated.
Most of the people who come for the workshop and special screenings and are from Paris. We're working with schools in Paris and high schools in Paris also, and around Paris in the suburbs. But we are participating to this Cinéma Son Jeunesse, which is 1 year training to make one short film, and we have some special teachers going to work with those classes, and also we are preparing an off-site program from our collection, and also in partnership with distributors to offer to other regional cinematheques the possibility to make educational program associated with workshop. We are working sometimes in film festival. I'm thinking about Belfort in the east of France, and so for 1 week we are making this section of this mini festival with also the question of accessibility. It's not an underline program, but just signal to some screenings with an introduction with an animator to introduce the program and to make a workshop after the screening, because most of the job is to talk and to explain the necessity to be there and to the collective experience, but to explore and to learn how is it made and why this film, and to talk about the movie.
You also mentioned at the beginning, and also now, a little bit about making films. Like, it's not only watching the films, but you may be teaching kids or training them skills. Is there any connection between you and the industry? Do you see how you could help people getting into the film industry? Do you do any skills trainings? Do you think it's your role at all? So you may say, oh, this is crazy, we don't really want to do this. We want to teach people to watch films or understand films or appreciate films. What do you think?
I honestly really think that the film industry professionals of the future will be incredibly skilled, and they will have a command over images that we would not have thought possible 20 years ago. I mean, you see what millennials do now with Snapchat and with their iPhones, and it really makes me wonder if we really should teach them anything, because they seem to me like they are...
Please don't tell them this.
No, I think that maybe this is the kind of evolution that we can gladly witness and see. I'm curious to see if this incredible access to a movie studio in your pocket, which was the utopia that we all wanted to see in the 8 days of Zoetrope Studios and Francis Ford Coppola, and dreaming of taking the means of production away from the corporation. And I'm really curious to see the kind of films they will make. And unfortunately for them, there is no industry, because there are not enough people out there willing to give them money in order to make films. But I'm sure that we will see some very exciting films in the future, and I'm sure they have plenty of stuff that they can teach me that I don't know how to make half the things they do, and so I'm actually scared.
And what do you think, Emily?
I'm not scared. I feel lucky. But yeah, well, what means film industry nowadays? I mean, in France, okay, you have cinema schools, La Fémis, which is completely for kind of elite, only 50 people per year. Come on. So we are not training those kids to do only feminist, I hope so. And so film industry, what does it mean? Now, when you're looking at channel YouTube about cinema, you have also channel YouTube to watch short movies or features. Okay, you can do a film by your own now. So maybe film industry has to be a bit scared about what's going on, and because maybe we don't need them at all. Yesterday, Eric Lobois was mentioning something very interesting that which I didn't know actually. In France, we get this special funding to get film print of your negative, of your digital negative, because, well, in 100 years you don't know where your digital negative could be. So, but there is, in 1 year and a half, only 10 production companies did the job. It was all for free. There's no reimbursement, nothing. It was all for free, but nobody asked for. So, okay, can we trust this film industry at all? Maybe not. So, well, I hope that in Cinematheque we are just giving the no complex, and we would like that there is no intimidation or frustration to any devices connected to cinema, actually. I think, well, this is yours, you can do it. And you can program it, you can watch movie, you can... This is actually what we want to do.
And in the end, I think that there shouldn't be just one institution that does everything. I mean, the cinematheques like us should promote, educate, and screen what is not commercially available, and then there should be maybe other institutions within a national film industry that would have that role. So I would prefer to see a split, or somebody that does specifically that. Like, I would say something, let's call it, for the lack of a better definition, film school.
And how do you say, because we're getting towards the end of our time, unfortunately, our time here, not time in general, and so I'd like to ask you how you see the future of I and Cinematheque Française. What do you, when you close your eyes, what do you see?
But the future?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very tricky question, because all this question about the audience of the future and Cinematheque of the future. Okay, Gianluca Farinelli showed us yesterday very moving images that, okay, people won't change. We won't becoming robots or something. Maybe, but I don't know, maybe we will change our gender, okay? But we're still humans, okay? So we are going to cinema and talk about movies. So I don't know. When I was a kid, I think to myself, okay, maybe in 2020 we will have some flying motors. I don't see this. Okay, so maybe this future. Okay, we will try to do our best to explain the medium, to consider the screen as a museum, and to show film the best we can. And to explain, okay, what is an analog print? This film wasn't shot in 35, we still have 35. So we will screen you 35 and we will explain you what's going on the screen. And that's, I think in the future we want to just remain the same. And accept also the society is changing, and then we have to also talk about new subject and screen also new film, and to get learning from young audiences.
My vision of the future of Cinematheques, I hope that we will become like opera. And because that, in the end, if we are honest to ourselves, and we don't try to be something that we are not, our work as museums, as archives, is to preserve something of the past and make it exciting for the present and possibly for the future. So if we don't sell our souls and we keep fighting our fight, we should be like a fantastic opera house, like the Metropolitan in New York, or where they do new revisitations of old operas, but at the same time we preserve an art form which was incredibly popular 150 years ago, and now has become a bit of a old-style lady, well-preserved and well-mannered, and still fascinating to look at. And I hope that cinema will be that old lady, and we'll keep looking.
What else an Italian can say?
I could have said we want to become a restaurant.
Thank you. If I would like to pass the mic to anyone if you have a question. Or if you have anything else to say that I didn't ask you about,
Emily? No? With Yuri we were talking this week about the fact that next week in Budapest there's going to be the unveiling of a statue, bigger than life statue of Bud Spencer, and it's an interesting subject. And the other day I was sitting in a square here in Budapest waiting for a friend, and I was writing down the things that I wanted to say, and when it comes to what it means to program, and I said exactly, so most I already said, like, you know, show new films in order to sell the old ones, but also don't be something that you are not, and try to be a good educator, and then I had this thought that Billy Wilder used to have a sign behind him that asked, how would Lubitsch do it? And I thought that nowadays film programmers, but especially me and Yuri, will have a sign behind our desk that will say, how would Bud Spencer do it? And Bud Spencer would do it strong, direct, and hitting hard, but also generating that kind of happy, fuzzy feeling coming from the belly. Because if you see these films, they're very silly to look at these days, but they somehow still work, and they bring that excitement that we had as children. And I wish every programmer and every curator in the world to be able to do it like Bud Spencer.
I think this is the right closing. Thank you. Thank you for all of you, and thank you for being here with us.